Hi, everybody. Welcome to Shivers. For today's Shivers podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about my recommendations, my picks, my suggestions for non-horror horror movies. These are movies that have stuck with me, that I have liked, have watched, have enjoyed, but they're not necessarily under the horror category. To me, they kind of should be. But I think anybody who's looking for something that's scary and that's spooky, but that's not going to kind of like keep you up all night long, this is what this list is for. I would say some, if not all of the movies on this list have definitely stuck with me. So maybe they are a little bit scarier than not. But to get started with this list, I always recommend two movies. One of them being The Lovely Bones. Lovely Bones came out in 2009. This is all focusing on this girl named Susie Salmon. This is also based off of a book. So read it, watch it, whatever. But I recommend everybody read or watch or consume Lovely Bones at some point. So Susie Salmon is this young teen, pretty normal girl. Her neighbor, which is no spoiler because this is all right in the beginning, is a serial killer. And this serial killer lures Susie Salmon out to this field and kills her. Now, the entire rest of the book, of the movie, is all focusing on Susie's perspective of trying to tell her family what happened to her, trying to communicate from beyond, while also going through this like very strange purgatory as well. So it's very mystical in the way that it is filmed. Like it almost feels like a dream, but there's no like sci-fi, there's nothing that's too supernatural. It's much more about family sadness, the sadness of losing a child, the mystery of trying to figure out what's going on with the neighbor. Is he going to get caught? Has he done this before? How can a family help someone who has already passed away? So I think The Lovely Bones is very dark. It is one that will probably stick with you. It's definitely one that will stick with me forever. But I love The Lovely Bones. I think it's very scary. It's very dreadful. It's very sad, but it's also very cathartic. There's a lot going for it. So after The Lovely Bones, the other one I said I always recommend too is Prisoners. This is from 2013. Prisoners stars Hugh Jackman, which is kind of interesting to see him in more of a thriller role besides just, I guess, what you would think of as like The Greatest Showman or Wolverine, or even Les Mis. You know, he's in that too. But I like Hugh Jackman. I think that he does a really cool job in this movie. I don't know that I would have like picked him for it, but he does a great job. So Prisoners to me is much more like actually scary. It's not a horror movie, but this is like the ultimate thriller suspense film. I always say thriller and suspense. I would always give the recommendation of Shutter Island, but if you want something that's scarier than Shutter Island, that's a lot more visceral, a lot more real, I'll point you right to Prisoners. So Prisoners focuses, it's kind of similar vibe of The Lovely Bones. So if you end up watching Lovely Bones and you don't like it, I probably wouldn't watch Prisoners. But if you like it, then you'll love Prisoners. So Prisoners kind of takes the dial and turns it up. It's all very dark. It's all very gray. It's all very blue. So you already have all those colors working for you in the movie. But this is all focusing on all these parents whose kids got kidnapped basically from their front yard. And now they're trying to figure out who would have taken their kids, where would they have gone, why would they have done this, why would the kids have willingly gone. So the entire movie is from the parents' perspective. Granted, I've been pretty vocal on this channel about not loving children, but this does give a pretty well-rounded approach. You know, you don't have to be a parent for this to be something that's scary. You just have to be someone who's watching it pretty much. So I think that Prisoners is really scary. You know, this is all these parents and what they will do to get their children back. What will they do to find the truth? What lengths will they go to break the law? And it's also a little bit of wish fulfillment too. You know, we have a be careful what you wish for element in this movie. And the ending is, it's pretty brutal in terms of just like being devastating, not being gory, not being gross, nothing like that. It's just like really, I think that's a big reason why it will sit with you. So Lovely Bones is first, Prisoners is next if you like The Lovely Bones. Next, we have really, I would say, the most definitely the most like aggressive one on this list, and that is The Passenger from 2023, not to be confused with Passenger that just came out a couple of weeks ago or months ago. But The Passenger from 2023 stars Kyle Gallner. So this is like truly teetering the line of suspense, horror, political a little bit too. But to me, when I watched The Passenger, I felt more like I was watching Prisoners than I was watching like Texas Chainsaw or something. So that's why I added it to this list. It's a little bit of a cheat. But The Passenger, I have talked about it on this channel before, but it to me was such a surprise. Do not watch the trailer. The trailer gives away absolutely everything. And I think a big reason why I liked this movie is because I did go in blind. So The Passenger focuses on these kind of like young adults working at a burger shop. This one kid in particular just keeps getting bullied by all the cool kids at the burger shop. And Kyle Gallner pretty much won't stand for that. So he takes matters into his own hands, kind of kidnaps the victim, the bullied kid, and now it's this whole revenge movie. So it's who are we getting revenge on? Who needs to learn a lesson? What are the consequences to their actions? So as you can see, it's kind of similar. And I think what you'll see in a lot of thrillers and suspense movies as well is follow that pattern. You know, there's a lot of not actions be consequences, but are you sure you really want to do that? That's the kind of mentality of a lot of thrillers and suspense, but this movie in particular. And I think The Passenger does a really great job of blending the feeling of a movie like Split, where you have multiple personalities and you have that trapped feeling as well, but blending it in with more social commentary and actual reasoning. You know, this is why I'm doing all of these things. This is exactly what led me up to this point. I've already thought about it. I've already calculated all of this. Today's the day to actually just sort of take action. So I think there's more methodology behind The Passenger than there is for some other movies. But the way that it's thought out and the exploration of the psyche and the exploration of social constructs inside of a broken mind, it's a really, I think it's an incredibly underrated movie, but it is a little bit gory. So Lovely Bones is more spooky. Prisoners is more just like dreadful, devastating. The Passenger is a little bit gory and very poignant. So if you're looking for something that's going to be like a passive watch, I'm definitely not. But don't watch it before you go to bed. So I'll leave The Passenger at that. I don't want to give too much away because it is a very simple story. It's a very simple movie. So watch it. Next on the list is Nightcrawler. This is from 2014. Kind of the same vibe. It is technically considered a suspense movie, but this does star Jake Gyllenhaal. This is more along the lines of this guy who is a journalist at nighttime has the opportunity to kind of like record and find all of these different crime scenes. And for him, it's more along the lines of like a big break and also trying to find his way in the journalist area. But as he starts to go through things, it's the idea of how far will you go and how far will you go for success and how far will you go for a story? What's the truth? What versus what's glorified? What are you doing right versus what are you doing for the wrong intentions? So it's a good conversation around like career trajectory, but also the car crash mentality. So anytime you see a car crash on the road, you want to slow down, you want to look at it, it's the rubbernecking. But why? You know, there's something inherently human about wanting to do that. Even the gladiators, you know, I have this conversation a lot with a lot of my friends about sports and how I do love football. I'm a big sports fan. I like football. I like UFC, but there's something that I think is just sort of like innate in a lot of people, maybe just humans in general, for competition, for games, for who's going to win. And so I think that is very cleverly disguised underneath Nightcrawler. So that one doesn't stain nearly as much as any of the other ones, so it's probably a lot more tame than some of the others on this list. There is a little bit of gore because of the crime scenes, but if you're more of like a true crime fan, or even if you just watch the news, like it'll be fine. You'll be fine. So after Nightcrawler, pretty much exactly the same vibe is, I'm going to say, Joker from 2019. I think Joker from 2019 did what The Purge wished it could do. And I love The Purge. I'm not at all shitting on The Purge. I absolutely love that franchise. But Joker made such a statement of not only like America and society, but also about like how do you just simply treat people, which goes back to The Passenger. You know, what's the consequence of being mean to people who did nothing to you? So Joker has to make this list. It's Joaquin Phoenix. It is incredibly well done. It is an incredibly staining movie. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who's watched it and they haven't remembered it damn near scene for scene. You know, Joker is good. I have not seen Joker 2. I've heard it's a musical, so I haven't watched it. But if it's worthwhile, let me know, because I think the Joker is great. I do think that, honestly, I think that everybody should almost be like forced to watch Joker because of just the social nature of it. You know, you got to know how to treat people. You got to know what people go through and how easy it is for somebody to snap. But similar to Passenger, snap with a reason. So you kind of can't argue logic, even if logic is bad and flawed. So after Joker, we're going to go Berlin Syndrome. This is from 2017. This is starring Teresa Palmer. You know her as an actress if you see her. This is one that I was just sort of scrolling and came across, but it has stuck. It was a couple years ago that I watched this, and it hasn't left this brain. So Berlin Syndrome is all about Teresa Palmer, who's playing this girl who is a teacher or a nurse or something, and she meets this guy, and he's like, oh, great, you know, we're going to have a great night at the bar. Why don't you come back to my place? She is, I believe, a tourist, and so you can kind of see where this is going. He takes her back to his apartment in this damn near abandoned apartment building, which didn't give her any red flags. And he traps her in his apartment and he won't let her leave. There's no handles on the doors. There's truly no way for her to get out. Even if she gets into the stairwell, because the apartment building is essentially abandoned, there's chains at the bottom. She can't get out the front door. So it's truly an escape movie. But we'll mix in the idea of the fears of a one-night stand, the fears of traveling, the fears of meeting somebody new, and just thinking that you're having a pretty authentic conversation. So all of those things put together trap this girl in this apartment. You then have a little bit of that like Stockholm syndrome, because you kind of have no choice. Like, this is the only person that you get to talk to. So it's a little bit dragged out, in my opinion, because what I just said in about a minute takes an hour to get there. So it's a little slow. But I do like it, and I do think that it's really scary. It is not considered a horror movie. It is considered an abduction movie, which is a whole subgenre of its own, kind of like Taken movies. There's not a whole lot of action because it's mostly just her in the apartment, but it's pretty freaky. So if you like more of that true slow burn, this is a great slow burn movie, and I would kind of leave it at that. So after Berlin Syndrome, we have two that are kind of quirky. I'm going to go with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out in 2005. Willy Wonka came out in 1971. There's a gajillion theories about both of these movies, being that the kids represent the sins, and so you have gluttony, you have greed. Veruca Salt is all greedy. Augustus Gloop is glutton. I think that it's a really unique take, but whatever way you want to look at it, Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are taking children and abducting them in a candy factory, and also taking their children. It's scary. And you have all of the town that is like poor and not doing well, and so we're going to take this horrible town and give them a contest. I mean, it's literally the Hunger Games. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka started so that the Hunger Games could run, so that all of these other movies could make movies about whatever. You know, I have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka Here you go, my golden ticket here, because I love those movies, and I think that they're very fun to watch, but they are also very freaky to watch, just from not only like the river scene from Willy Wonka, but also just the commentary. Even for Johnny Depp playing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, like he's really freaky, but he also makes a lot of jokes, which is fun to watch as an adult. So there's a lot that you miss as a kid, and I would definitely recommend both of those, but look through a more like horror lens. And of course, sort of the last movie, I have a couple of TV shows as honorable mentions, but the last movie to mention is Coraline. I always think and always say, what's the scariest movie you ever watched? It's Coraline. It's so fucking scary. It's from 2009 already, but it is created by Henry Selick, and Henry Selick is making a new movie this year as well, so everyone is very excited. You know, this is the guy who made Coraline. So I think that I think we're in for a treat with whatever he makes. He did make a Netflix movie with Jordan Peele, which was not great, but that is out there. And either way, Coraline focuses, if you haven't seen it, focuses on this little girl named Coraline with her blue hair. She moves into the Pink Palace, and her parents are, I don't want to say absent, but distracted. And she's an only child. She has to make her own fun. At nighttime, she finds this secret passageway in the living room of their house, and it leads her to another dimension. And in this other dimension, there's another mother, which also pulls from, you know, Other Mommy, the trailer that just came out with Jessica Chastain. If you haven't seen that trailer, it looks incredible. But we also read that book in book club. So another hipster moment for Shivers. But anyway, so Coraline meets her other mother, and her other mother says, like, you can stay in this alternate universe forever, but essentially I have to keep your soul. So Coraline's like, let me go ahead and think about that. And the whole rest of the movie is her kind of trying to figure out, what's the deal with this other world? What's the deal with this other mother? How is this existing? What does she want from me? What are these games? And then starting to find out all of these other missing children have gone over there and have never come back. So we still have that missing children's piece aspect to it. We still have that almost like abduction aspect to it, but we do have another like dimension and portal, and also be careful what you wish for. So you're seeing a trend with a lot of these movies, but I absolutely love Coraline. I can't say enough good things about it. Again, if you haven't already watched it, do that first. So my honorable mentions on this list for TV shows, I'm going to go ahead and add Pluribus on here. Pluribus is an Apple TV show. It's newer, it came out in 2025, but as somebody, me, who has worked from home for all of these years and lives by myself and can kind of get into that like solipsism mindset sometimes, Pluribus really hit a nerve for me. My dad is like a Apple TV connoisseur and basically watches every new TV show that comes out on Apple TV. And he was like, you'll love this. It's so like dystopian. It's so creepy. And the first episode is all about this woman named Carol. And it's essentially like the end of the world, but all of these regular people, their minds just sort of like switch. And so now they're all part of this hive mind. And there's only like 6 people in the whole world where this hive mind has not worked for them. And Carol is one of them. So all of these people are just sort of coming in hordes to her house and seeing her at the grocery store. And they're like, hi, Carol. How can we help you, Carol? And she's like, what the hell is going on? So they all kind of treat her like this queen because they're trying to figure out why her brain has not switched over. So it's a fantastic TV show for a conversation. I got into a 2-hour-long conversation about Pluribus before, and in terms of like the social commentary of it, and we want to belong, but we want to be individual, and it's that juxtaposition of like, how do we actually feel about our own place in the community, in the world? So I think there's a lot to talk about for Pluribus. It is definitely in no way, shape, or form a stereotypical horror movie. If anything, it would lean like sci-fi dystopian, apocalyptic dystopian, but it's still that idea of like being completely alone. And I think that is at the core what really like struck a nerve with me. So maybe that one's a little bit more personal, but I do think that Pluribus is still worth like a freaky watch if you're more TV show than movie. So the only other two things to mention on here are more TV show episodes that still also go back to my tattoos. But we have the After Hours episode of Twilight Zone. This is season 1, episode 34. This came out in 1960, so kind of crazy. But the After Hours to me is like the best episode of TV ever. This is all about this girl who goes to a shopping mall and she's shopping, but she doesn't really know like how she got there. And she's looking specifically for this golden thimble. And so they're like, oh, you have to go up this elevator and into like the secret shopper area and you'll go get like your perfect item. So I'm absolutely not going to spoil the ending because I think that every single person should watch this episode. But it is a phenomenal twist that I had no clue. I couldn't have guessed that at all. And for it being from 1960, I think it's also easy to say like, oh, you know, it's not going to be that good. Like it is. So After Hours is great. And then the last thing that I'll mention is Playtest from Black Mirror. This is my personal favorite episode of TV show ever. This is from season 3, episode 2 from 2016 of Black Mirror. This does star Wyatt Russell. I like him as an actor, but he is essentially playing this guy who's going on a solo world tour. And he comes across this girl and he's like, hey, you know, I want to hang out, but like I need to find like a little odd job so I can get some more money. And she's like, oh, perfect. You know, I know of so-and-so who's putting on this like video game contest and they're testing out all of this new technology. If you go in and be their sort of like dummy, you win all this money. So basically, if you want to be like a research guinea pig, go ahead. Like, here you go. Here's an opportunity. So he goes in and he plays this video game. It's supposed to be this like very technologically advanced video game. It's kind of like VR, but you just put buttons on the side of your head and then everything in your actual environment is changing. So it's the idea of you don't know what's real and what's fake. You don't know when this is going to start or when this is going to stop. And the ending too. It's a really great twist ending. And I think it's really scary. But I think you also do, for Playtest in particular, you have to be a video game fan. If you're not a video game fan, it might feel a little corny or cheesy. But if you are a video game fan, Playtest is definitely it. The other one to sort of mention, not even remotely scary, in my opinion, outside of just kind of blanketed, dreadful, and devastating, is San Junipero from season 3, episode 4 of Black Mirror. This is such a heartfelt, wholesome episode of Black Mirror. Many people say it's the best episode of Black Mirror. I like Playtest better, but San Junipero is just, I mean, it's art to me. It's very art. And if you want something that's going to make you just kind of sad, like scary sad when it's over, just like, oh wow, that's gonna stick. San Junipero is it's a good one. So that is the list of non-horror horror picks. I hope you enjoyed that list. Hope you see some patterns. If you liked anything or watched anything, let me know, because I love putting together lists, obviously, and I love giving recommendations. So always happy to give some more, but thank you as always for listening. Hope you'll watch something unique and funky to you this week, and we will see you next.